In 1893, Chicago was celebrating one of the greatest events in American history. The World's Columbian Exposition had brought millions of visitors from across the world. The city was alive. Music filled the streets. Hotels were packed. And for a brief moment, Chicago felt like the center of the world. But just a few blocks away from this celebration, something far darker was happening. A hotel had been built, not for comfort, not for guests, but for something far more disturbing. A place where people entered and never left. This is the story of H.H. Holmes, America's first known serial killer. Herman Webster Mudgett was born in 1861 in New Hampshire. On the surface, nothing about his childhood seemed unusual. But later accounts described a boy who was unusually intelligent and deeply fascinated by death. He reportedly experimented with animals, dissecting them out of curiosity. Whether this showed early signs of something darker or was simply childhood curiosity remains debated. But one thing was clear: Herman Mudgett was different. By the time he became a young adult, he had already learned something important. People were easy to manipulate, and trust was easy to gain. In 1882, he enrolled in medical school at the University of Michigan. There he studied anatomy and human biology. But some accounts suggest he began using his knowledge in disturbing ways. He was linked to stolen bodies and fraudulent insurance schemes, though not all details were ever fully proven. After graduating, he disappeared from Michigan and reemerged under a new name: H.H. Holmes. In 1886, Holmes arrived in Chicago. The city was booming with opportunity. Factories, construction, and immigrants filled every corner. Holmes quickly found work in a pharmacy. And just as quickly, he took control of it. Shortly after, the original owner and later her husband both vanished under unclear circumstances. Holmes claimed everything was normal, and nobody questioned it. That silence would become a pattern. Across the street was the pharmacy. Holmes began construction on a hotel. At first glance, it looked ordinary. Rooms for guests, shop below, offices upstairs. But what no one knew was that Holmes personally controlled every detail of the design. Workers were constantly hired and fired. No one ever saw the full structure. When the building was completed, it contained over 100 rooms, windowless chambers, secret passageways, hidden staircases, and a basement few people ever saw. That basement contained something even more disturbing: a dissection table, chemical vats, and equipment capable of destroying human remains. This was not an hotel, it was a trap. When the 1893 World's Fair began, millions arrived in Chicago. Holmes saw the opportunity. He targeted vulnerable guests, travelers, young women, people without family nearby, people who wouldn't be missed immediately. He was charming, calm, trustworthy. Many guests never checked out. Some disappeared without explanation. Others were last seen entering his hotel and never leaving. Holmes' downfall did not begin in Chicago. It began in Texas, where he was arrested for insurance fraud. Inside jail, a cellmate overheard something strange. A story involving a man named Benjamin Pitzel. Soon, investigators followed the trail. What they discovered was horrifying. Pitzel was dead, and his children had also vanished. 3 of them were later found buried in different locations. The investigation expanded rapidly, and all paths led back to Chicago. When police finally searched Holmes' hotel, they uncovered its true design. Hidden rooms, gas lines, trapdoors, and a basement filled with evidence of death. What had once been a mystery was now a crime scene. Holmes was arrested and taken to trial. He confessed to multiple murders, but constantly changed his story. The true number of victims remains unknown. Estimates range from over several to possibly over 100. In 1896, H.H. Holmes was executed by hanging. He was 34 years old. Even in his final moments, he showed no remorse. Shortly after his arrest, the murder castle burnt down, destroying much of the remaining evidence. To this day, historians still debate the full truth of what happened inside those walls. But one thing remains certain. Behind the face of a respected doctor was a man whose crimes turned a city of hope into a place of horror. If you are fascinated by the darker side of history, subscribe to Dark Files for weekly mysteries and true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious.